Yeah, they left. Good day. Here we are, the Monday Movie Club. All 5 of you that watch this. Here we are back to the Marvel Universe with Spider-Man 3. Well, at least 5 of us watching it. I never even watched them. Do you watch them?
No.
Sometimes, no.
Oh, I always do.
I listen when my wife watches them.
I'm Frank Gaffney. Here with me is Amy Goldman. Joel Fenster with the Sandman behind. I didn't realize he's sinking into the table.
Yeah, everything's
Isn't that great?
And Mark Wotitz Gartner and the very cool Tobey Maguire and Annie King, who had to go
Is
put
wearing
on
contacts.
contacts because we can't see her in her glasses. All right, so Spider-Man 3 is from 2007 and the MCU was formed in 2005, but Spidey wasn't part of the MCU till 2016 for legal reasons. And the first official MCU movie was Iron Man in 2008. What the hell did they do for 3 years?
They wrote a script and made a movie.
Yeah.
It does take a while.
Yeah, 3 years, obviously. All right, so here in Spider-Man 3, director Sam Raimi has lost his mind. This is definitely the worst of his trilogy, and by a long shot, not even a little bit. The CGI is so laughable at times, it looks like you're watching a computer game when they're fighting sometimes. It's the villains are ridiculous. Are these all from the comic books, all 3 of them?
Yep.
Okay, and Tobey Maguire can't even play cool. That scene was, as much as it was supposed to be funny, was just awkward. It was just awkward, the whole thing. And there's not that much acting in the world that could make Tobey Maguire cool. I'm sorry. And the whole thing with Harry, don't even get me started on that. That was so horrible. Oh my gosh, that they had to get amnesia so they could be friends again. So then he could turn around and help him. Ay, ay, ay. So nits to pick. Harry was a horrible student and now he's a computer whiz. I guess he just didn't apply himself. Is that we're thinking? Okay. And the evil shit from space obviously lands right next to Peter Parker. How convenient. And convenient part 2 was Harry losing his memory so they could be friends. And Stan Lee gets some lines finally. Woohoo!
Oh,
Okay, so they fire MJ from the show. She doesn't know, and she shows up. The stage manager lets her in. I'm sorry, if you got fired, they'd be like, sorry, you can't go in. That's some bullshit right there. And then, how did she even get the part in the first place? Because she can't fucking sing. She cannot sing.
Should have heard Danielle during that part. She's like, please fast forward.
How did she get the lead in a Broadway musical?
Well, she's third billed.
Still the lead. She got a whole solo song.
that we had to sit and listen to the entire song. I was like,
Oh, good Lord.
what is
I'm
the
like-
point?
Did she think she was going to have a music career? Because then we have to listen to her sing again later.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, okay, so then Bruce Campbell went from being the wrestling announcer, the theater usher, and now he's a maitre d' in this movie. You obviously have to have 3 jobs to live in New York City, right, Aim?
Yeah.
At least 3 jobs. So, and then they take 10 minutes to rewrite Spider-Man 1, so the plot of this movie will make sense to them. They really shouldn't have bothered. They really should not have bothered. And then we get what this movie really needs, a 3rd villain. Yay! Why? And then when after Harry gets mutilated, he's like talking like this, the scene, and then he goes, dun 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 dun, Scar!
Yeah.
I'm like, really? I expected Phantom of the Opera music to play. Dun, 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 dun. And why? Tell me why, Joel. I want an answer. Why
Because
did not Alfred the Butler wait 3 years to tell Harry the truth?
Yeah.
well, first of all, it's not 3 years. It's 3 years
2
in our time. In their time, it's a different timeline.
I think
and-
didn't Aunt May say it was 2 years later?
Yes. And honestly, as I said, I watched the editor's version. That scene's not in it. So
But it's not Sam Raimi, it's the editor who did
The
the,
editor reworked the movie, yes.
and is it better? It has to
Marginally.
be better.
It's better in certain aspects. There's certain things that the editor was not going to be able to fix whatsoever. But yeah, it's, I think
Didn't
it's
you
better.
feel the same way about Zack Snyder's Justice League?
That was
It
different.
was marginally better.
No, that was not marginally better. That was way better.
Oh, okay.
By
Alright,
the way,
so-
that the butler is Nicolas Cage's dad.
Oh, wow.
He started acting when he was 70 years old, so he's not a good actor. But
Something Coppola? Something Coppola?
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so, and why did they pick him? Why? He's friends with Sam Raimi?
There's got to
Probably.
be some
Nicolas
connection
Cage
there.
could have been
There's-
one of the villains. That would have been
There's
good.
got to be some connection.
Well, Nicolas Cage is finally he's the voice of one of the Spider-Men in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
I think everybody in the whole world is going to be in the new Spider-Man movie in December.
According
Everybody
to
who
Joel's,
ever
the
appeared in
last article
any-
that Joel posted, you're right.
Yeah, everybody who ever appeared in any Spider-Man movie will be in this movie.
Yes.
Okay, so sorry, Spidey. I'm going 2 stars on this one. It was really pretty torturous. And how did the Sandman get destroyed finally?
He did.
Explosion.
He
right?
just flew
No,
away.
no, he walked away. He
Drifted
walked
away.
away. He
Like this cat right now?
Drifted.
I liked his arc. It's different from the comics. He's just a meathead. He's always bad or whatever. And this thing gave him a real sense of humanity. And at the end, he kind of came around and was good in the last 5 minutes of the movie and made peace
So-
with Spider-Man.
Right, so does he actually die or did he just drift away to come back another day or?
Correct.
Yeah, he just drifts away to come back another day, and he
Okay.
never does
That's,
until
that's very
now.
poetic. Drift away to come back another day.
Another day.
which begs the question though. Jumping ahead, the trailer for No
To
Way Home.
December.
Yeah, the trailer for No Way Home that just dropped this week. Doctor Strange says to Spider-Man that all these villains, their thing is they all die they die fighting Spider-Man, and it's kind of like, wait a minute, Sandman didn't die. He just drifted away.
Does he ever come back in the comic books to work with Spider-Man and be like, I'm helping you
No,
now?
he's always a bad guy.
Yeah.
Always a bad guy.
I did love how the effect was very akin to, the blip, the snap. The way he faded away.
Fade away.
It looked
Okay.
good. It certainly looked good for 2007, I thought.
Yeah, even when he was created out of that sand truck, conveniently parked in Manhattan. Was
No, he was in like the marshlands. Where we were talking about that, like where that's not Manhattan. Was he in Jersey? Like what?
Yeah.
Staten Island.
But yes,
Exactly.
isn't that where all the sewage goes anyway?
Sure. All right, so Aim, you want to move your pussy aside and give your review?
No, I want someone else to go because it'll keep refreshing me on things.
Okay. Anne, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. It was okay. It started okay. I mean, a lot of stupid coincidences that meteorite lands right there, gets on his scooter and everything, and then waits a couple of days before
I
attacking.
just hangs out. It's like,
Yeah.
let me figure
Right,
out where I'm going.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was okay. I like the Sandman story, but really, like, did it happen in the comics where he was the real killer of Uncle Ben? Is that where it? No. So,
No?
so
They had
it
to
just
rewrite
like,
the whole thing.
yeah,
Thomas Hayden Church turned out to, and then he killed him by accident.
right. So that was just totally
I'm calling
Silly.
bullshit on that whole scenario.
right. I didn't really understand why they had to do all that. And then,
I think that maybe it was to get Thomas Hayden Church. He's like, I'm just going to be just mean and I'm going to have a whole arc.
maybe that it was silly. And then the whole Saturday Night Fever dance walking down the street thing was I mean, and that greasy hair. Like,
Yes.
oh
Well,
my
if you're
God.
evil, you have to look different. You have to look
Oh.
different if you're evil.
And he even had to do it in front of the
Yes,
camera.
exactly.
for
It
her.
was like, I'm evil now.
Yeah, it was,
It was-
and it was like spiky. It was just so god awful.
It's not like Star Trek where he could sprout a goatee immediately and be the evil version of Peter Parker.
That, maybe that would have helped if he had a goatee.
because that was just so silly. And then that silly dance in the jazz room. I was like, why? Why do we
Yeah.
need all that?
Somebody
I mean,
thought it was hysterically funny, obviously.
Yeah.
it was bad. And
We weren't among that group.
so the black tingly thing that took over, did it absorb his Spidey powers? Is that what happens? It just took
That's
off.
because Danielle asked that too. Like, why does Eddie Brock now have Spider-Man powers? And that's the only way you can say it. I think because it's a symbiote, the suit itself is really an alien, and I think he did. They bonded, and so he absorbed those abilities. And then when he bonds with Eddie Brock, he still has them, a variant of them. And in the comics, just so you're aware, Spider-Man was not able to do his own webs, but when he had the suit on, he was. That was the first time he had it. And then Venom also has it, and they didn't mention it, but their spider sense cancels each other out, so they can't tell. So in the comics, he's always getting ambushed by Venom because he can't tell that he's.
Excuse me, he
Okay,
had
that's
no
cool.
Spidey sense whatsoever. He's
Yeah,
on
I
that
told-
bike riding away. There's
Yep.
somebody right behind him, and he's like, "I'm cool."
I
And I
totally
talked
noticed
about that in the first. I think I talked about in the first movie that they really got it right, and I agree. This movie, it was like
Yeah.
they just forgot about it at all. So
And it
Yeah.
was
Or
on his
maybe-
bike. It's
maybe-
that
maybe when he
moment, I
does-
thought, what the hell happened to his sense? That was so good in the other movies.
Well, maybe if he doesn't have the suit on, he doesn't have Spidey sense.
I don't think so.
Because in that whole school cafeteria scene, he didn't have a suit on.
Right.
Sure,
He knew
sure.
exactly what was coming. But so, and then Venom was just like a blip, right? It was just, and then that's it. What did he have? Like 5 minutes screen time? It was,
Yeah.
it was too. They did too much. They should not have introduced Venom and Sandman and
Yeah.
Harry's arc as well. It's too much in one movie.
yeah, there was just so much going on. And
I think Sam Raimi was like, "I'm not doing another one of these bullshit movies, and
Throw it
I'm
all
gonna
in."
throw everything in now and be done."
Actually, not what happened, but we'll talk about that.
All right, Anne, what do you say for star wattage?
2.5. And
If
why is
Ann-
it always raining at the funeral and everyone has their umbrellas up, but it didn't look like there was rain?
Did you catch Joe Manganiello was back as Flash Thompson for like 1 second in the background?
Yeah.
Oh.
And he's
Yeah.
he's credited like he's just like 10th billing for like being in the background for 5 seconds.
Were you the one? Wait, what was the thing that you sent the salary? Oh, that was Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he was like in the movie, maybe he worked a week and he got $1 million. Tim Roth.
Oh, Tim Roth.
All right, Mark, you want to go next?
All right. So I'm not gonna nitpick over it. I know everyone's gonna dump on a movie and rightfully
I'm
so.
amazed that you watched this 5 times. That's said like you.
Well, I
no
think
life.
about it. It's from 2007, and I own the trilogy. I own all 3 movies. So there have been times where we've said, let's watch Spider-Man 1 tonight, 2 tomorrow, and 3. Whatever it is. And I've always
I would never say that.
well, that's you. It's definitely easily the worst of the 3. I mean, there's no argument there. And everything everyone said, I've had the same problem with. So upon rewatching it this many times, I know about the sucky parts. So I'm looking for the good parts and what maybe I missed. And I'm trying to find redeeming qualities, put it that way. So,
And what needle did you find in that haystack?
so Spider-Man and X-Men trilogies came out roughly at the same time period from like 2000 through 2007. Those were my favorite 2 comics growing up. X-Men and Spider-Man by far were it. So I was really excited when this was coming to the big screen with the technology to do it upright, right? This is not a cheesy 80s comic book movie. These are real movies with real actors and real CGI.
Don't dump on Howard the Duck.
If anything, at least talk about Superman and Superman 2, because that you have a legit argument on. So anyway, the first movie of both series was good. The second movie of both was great. And then the third movie in both series sucked. And so it was a real letdown after all that. And I mean, hell, Bryan Singer left the X-Men. Anyway, so, but the last couple of times I watched it, I just surprised by how much I've enjoyed it. I think to try to put too much in, like I just said, Topher Grace, I thought was a really bad choice, and Venom, and as I just said, should not have even been in it. It was just too busy. Emo Pete, I don't need to repeat it, but that was just, it didn't work. It was awkward. I get, we were laughing at this scene and the other scenes now as opposed to cringing, because it's just, we get where Sam Raimi's going with it. It was, I think, just all tongue in cheek. I did hate Fever in the bar, the whole bar scene when he's tickling the keys. It was just really bad. But I like Thomas Hayden Church. I like Sandman. I liked it overall. I've come to enjoy the movie. So I'm going to leave it at that, and 2.5 stars for me.
But there was never any resolution like for his daughter.
And I forgot about that. I remember at the end of it, I said, I thought he goes back and you see him with his daughter. My take on it after watching this many times is, at the end, Sandman comes to peace with him. He apologizes. Pete forgives him for killing the uncle. It's all a big accident. And my take is that he's going to go back and make amends and see his daughter and be a dad, be a good guy from here going forward until
and let her make
Spider-Man Far From Home, where they grab him and make him bad again, I assume.
And he'll let her make a sandcastle out of him.
Why not?
It'll be nice. All right, Aim, you refreshed enough now?
Yeah, I started taking.
I thought you
a
were
few
taking notes during it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I do remember thinking that the black slime, when it landed, it just seemed so random. There was like no story about it. Is there any explanation? Do we care about that?
Where's it
Anything?
from? What's it do? Why is it
Yeah,
here?
it just seems so
Joel?
odd.
Joel?
Joel, you take this one?
It just come out of nowhere.
Yes, in the movie, it comes out of nowhere. It has no purpose. It's just there because Sony basically said, hey, Sam, we need you to put Venom in here, even though we know you hate the character. Make it work
Right,
somehow.
and we want to do a Venom movie after this one.
So
So in the comics, that's how Venom is created.
no, Venom's is completely, his origin is a lot more complex, basically. It started off in and Mark, you can correct me as I'm going, because I'm getting older and forgetting things. Venom first appeared sort of in a mini series in 1984 or 5 called Secret Wars, where this omniscient being in the Marvel universe basically kidnapped all these heroes and brought them to a planet to battle each other.
Half heroes, half villains, and said,
Right.
A Royal Rumble, basically. Go at it.
So in the middle of that, Spider-Man found this icky black stuff that got onto him, and it gave him a new suit. And that was the big thing. It was a new suit. That's all. He has a new suit that's got these new added powers, and that's going to be a big thing. And then we just moved on with our lives until everybody came back. And when the miniseries was over, Spider-Man had a few months on Earth in the new suit, and then all of a sudden it started basically rebelling against him and taking on its own persona, and eventually he had to get rid of it and go back to his new suit.
I'll just say, I remember the one thing that they did right. It was quick, but when Pete woke up on the side of a building with the suit on when he had been asleep, that was right out of the comics. He would regularly wake up exhausted, and he didn't know why, because the suit was using him, was traveling all night long doing stuff, and he would wake up randomly, like it was like you're drunk and you pass out and you wake up on the side of a road, and that would happen to him regularly. So
Yeah.
And you could relate to that, right, Mark?
only once or twice, yeah.
Aim?
And I had never heard of Venom until a month ago. So I didn't even realize that was supposed to be Venom. And I really liked the effects. I thought the effects of both Venom and Sandman were fabulous. And Sandman I also never heard of. And as he turned into sand, I thought to myself, oh, I hope this character's name is Sandman, because that would be perfect. I never heard of him, but I loved the effects. And like you guys said, Toby's hair was so annoying, and the disco dancing down the street, Saturday Night Fever, was so bad. And I did not take that as tongue-in-cheek at all until the very end. I thought, I think this was supposed to be funny and silly, because it was so bad. So poorly
Watch it
done.
5 more times and then you'll
Yeah,
get
I
it.
guess so.
Well, 4 more times.
4 more times.
There were so many moments where I thought the script was terrible. I can't remember one, but one line somebody said, I was like, who wrote this?
And there were like 4 script writers.
Yeah, that's the other thing that killed me. It seems like the more writers you have, the worse the movie is going to be. What I do love about the whole trilogy is how they keep bringing Cliff Robertson and Willem Dafoe back. I think that's really cute to, film new scenes. And I did love learning, at least for the movie, that Uncle Ben's death was an accident and there was the whole forgiveness for it. I kind of like that cliche where somebody evil actually turns out to be a good guy. Just like I love when somebody like a Spider-Man is discovered and everybody now knows who the real Spider-Man is. I love those kind of discoveries. Gwen, I thought was a terrible character. And I thought Bryce Dallas Howard wasn't very good as her. And I thought it was completely useless to have both her and MJ in the movie.
And she had to
What
dye
was-
her hair blonde.
Her
And
hair
I
was
like that they-
white. It was so weird.
They kept with the theme of having a really old Aunt May and have her dad is James Cromwell. He's like 80 years older than her.
Yeah,
He's a grandfather.
yeah.
But
And I'm
just so
like,
you know
oh.
that you just talked about her hair and even like the braid in there is right out of the comic. So she
Oh,
had
okay.
practically white. It was almost like bleach blonde hair with the braid. So that
It
part
just
they got
looks so
right.
weird on film though. And yeah, I did go, oh, when the police officer said, yes, Captain Stacy, I was like, oh, of course he has to be. Of course.
Even
Now
though I'm not a
dating you,
fan. I'm not a fan
Now-
of the next movie we're going to start doing, the next series, the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. She's a much bigger part, different act. Well, Emma Stone and what's his name? Dennis Leary plays her father, and he does a really good job actually. That's
Mhm.
better. But in the comics, I think Joel mentioned this last week that Gwen Stacy was Spider-Man's first girlfriend during the high school years, and just like this is why he's afraid he doesn't want to get MJ involved because his enemies are going to hurt the ones he loves. And in the comics, I forget who did it. Joel can correct me, but she gets thrown off a building, which is what they did. They threw her off a building in this movie, and he gets her to save her, and he does, but she still dies from the fall before she even hits.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
basically, it's the Green Goblin actually tosses her off the Brooklyn Bridge,
Oh, wow.
and Spider-Man goes to save her, and the when the web grabs her and it
Yeah.
snaps her neck.
Whip- Yeah, whiplash.
Ooh,
Okay,
that would have
that's
been
great.
fun.
Yeah.
it's,
Wow.
Why did we do that?
Then
Let's
why?
snap
Because then it's connected to all this other bullshit that came like 30, 40 years later.
Well,
And they kind of did that. They did that a little bit to MJ with the Goblin in the first movie. Then
Yeah, but I think Amy really did want to snap Bryce Dallas Howard.
And the way she was, and they were all falling out of the building, and she was able to grab on all that momentum.
And then grab on one
stop
more
and
thing,
grab
and grab on one more thing. and
tele-
grab
Yeah,
on-
and then it
telephone
kept going.
cord.
Like,
You know,
it
honestly,
was like,
stuff like that no longer bothers me since I've seen which is the Transformers movie, Mark, where with that ridiculous. Oh, you haven't seen them?
not one.
Never seen me
I
either.
think it's
I don't
the
want-
third. My
Can't do
son
it.
made me sit
oh,
through
the
them.
first one is great.
Alright,
My son made me,
so-
the third one was there's a stunt in there that I'm just like, okay, every other stunt that I've ever thought was completely unbelievable can actually happen.
Because this one takes the cake.
Oh yeah, it was like
No,
7 months
actually,
long.
Amy, the
God,
Sandman was kind of gold, so he could have been Goldman.
Okay, that's
that
why
would
I
have been
liked them.
Yeah, that must have been it.
Yeah,
So where are you done? Did you
Yeah.
end stars wise? Where'd you end up
I'll give it 2.
with me on that?
Although,
one?
did I give the first one only 2? Or did I give it 2.5?
2.5.
I think you gave it
Okay.
2.5.
Okay. And really,
me-
while the first 30% of the movie, I was like, this really isn't that bad. And then,
Yeah. It definitely careens off the tracks there.
yeah.
Joel, don't you agree?
Oh yeah, it definitely is. It is, as Mark said, it is the weakest of this trilogy.
I believe
Uh,
I said that as well.
Okay, well, I don't
By
pay
a long shot.
attention.
I said
I
it
wouldn't
better.
say by a long shot, but it's definitely the weakest of the trilogy.
Actually, the Sandman behind you is going, why did they make this movie? What are you saying? right
Um,
now?
So I actually, this is the first time I sat down and watched the editor's cut of the film as opposed to
Right.
the theatrical cut.
Now, how did the editor get permission to change the
Yeah.
movie? How does that
Well,
happen?
At the, I believe from what I understand that the 10th anniversary for the film,
Sam Raimi was like, no, thanks.
yeah, well, yeah, they had asked him to do something with Spider-Man 2, and that's how we got Spider-Man 2.1, which is, 10 minutes longer, and it's still a good movie. It doesn't add or detract from the proceedings. I think Sony wanted something similar for this release, since they were gearing up to get Homecoming out, and they were like, all right, what can we do? And Sam Raimi's like, I'm kind of done with this and you guys, because you forced me to
He
use
prob-
Venom. So,
Exactly. They forced
No.
him to do it, and he's like, it was not even remotely the movie I wanted to make, so it's not.
yeah,
gonna
I mean,
help.
so the editor took a shot at it, and it's definitely an interesting cut in the sense that it will show you how editing can change a movie. It's not like they added 6 new scenes and switched all this stuff around and it's an amazing movie. It is
Right.
marginally better. I would prefer to watch this again the next time I see it, because it didn't, yes, it still has the biggest problems that the film has, it still has them, but a couple of them aren't as horrible as they had been. He added a few, and we're talking like seconds here and there in spots, and they even changed out some of the scoring of the film too, because apparently Christopher Young had scored a lot more stuff that they wound up not using. So there are things like there's an extra brief scene of Peter in his apartment longing and looking at the suitcase where he's got the symbiote suit, as if it's calling to him, wanting him to come in and take it. And there's a few other minor bits like that. The biggest changes are trying to shift the emo Spider-Man in a slightly more jackassy direction, as opposed to, not jackassy is the wrong terminology, but get him to be more, like he's really struggling with this dichotomy a little bit, and pushing Venom as far to the side as they possibly could. The biggest thing, and this is something that Amy seemed to be longing for, or maybe it was Mark actually, and Frank jokingly mentioned, is there is an extra scene with the Sandman going back to his daughter and his wife at a park, where the mother's talking to the daughter about the father and stuff, and then they're like, oh, we have to leave, go get your stuff, and she runs over towards the sandbox, and there is this giant sandcastle there. And she actually walks over to it, puts her hands on it, kind of,
And says, Dad?
Daddy?
she doesn't say that, but there's definitely this oddball connection between them that kind of works. And then when she leaves to go back to her mother and turns around, it's gone. And then he's standing there, off in the distance, and he's like, and I forget exactly what he says. He says something to the effect of, okay, yeah, he's speaking out loud to himself that he's now going to go get rid of Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's the one who has taken his daughter from him at this point, as far as he's concerned. And that's when you get the scene of him and Venom teaming up to go. There's also a shift in the scene where Peter outs Eddie Brock with the photo at the Daily Planet. Wow. At the Daily Bugle. Is moved into a different spot so that it helps make that jackass emo arc a little bit smoother in that sense.
Was this on a Blu-ray DVD or something?
It's on a Blu-ray DVD. I think it was
Mark,
at
don't
one
you think you
point
should get it?
available. Huh?
Mark
What'd you
needs
say?
to watch it. Mark needs to watch it now.
I have the DVD and I can go and look at the special features there. I'm sure, because I feel like I've seen the scene that Joel, you just said.
It's probably
That-
it's probably on
It's
one of
on
the
there.
early releases and stuff. This was originally released, I think, around the time Homecoming came out. It was the part of a Blu-ray set that contained all 3 movies.
And
Yeah,
Amy
just-
turned into a cat.
yes, and just
I am not a
FYI,
cat. I'm not a
you
cat.
mentioned everybody, but I was the one who brought up what was
I'm
the
sorry, Danny.
You don't exist. You count for nothing.
No, it's early in the morning and I'm tired because we were up too late last night watching SNL live like idiots. Anyway,
Who watches it live?
we were up and then we just were
Right.
like, well, we're not going to watch it tomorrow because it's too busy. Let's just keep watching.
Where-
Anyway,
Who's the host?
Simu Liu.
Shang-Chi.
Yeah,
Who?
Shang-Chi. And oh my
Um,
God, was it
cute.
Liz? They did not put him to good use.
Really?
Yeah, I felt bad.
Wait
for
a
him.
minute. Did he take his shirt off?
Yes, I think there was one
Oh,
sketch.
so that's good use right there.
Yeah, but that was it. It felt like an episode that was all ending sketches. You know, the last sketch of the night.
Right.
Oh,
Let's
God.
just throw it in.
Yeah, it was every sketch felt that way. Anyway,
All right, so
that-
Joel, are you gonna rate the editor's version of Spider-Man
actually, well,
3?
here's what I'm going to say: is that the original theatrical cut, when I saw it the first time, I hated it. Like Mark, I've seen it a few times since then, not as many as Mark, but it for me that the theatrical version is kind of a 2.5 movie. I would say the editor's version is more of a 2.75, maybe inching closer to a 3, but not really. So you
I
know.
think like we've all said, there were just too many things wrong.
Yeah, well, and it's
And going
a
on.
case of too many things going on. You've got you've got you've got to finish off Harry's arc because they've obviously kept that in motion. They're introducing Sandman, which is a better choice for villain than Venom is. I've never been a big Venom fan from the comic books. Having finally recently seen the first film with Tom Hardy, I liked that a lot. Here it was just annoying. It was very obvious that he was shoehorned in. Sam Raimi was on record at the time as saying that he didn't like the character. He didn't want to do the character. Sony made him do the character. As much as I like Topher Grace in a lot of things, he's just miscast here. And on top of that, Frank, I think it was you that was alluding to the CGI being bad in this film. And it is kind of a step back because you're dealing with fights at night featuring characters dressed in black. It's impossible to see half the time what's actually going on. Spider-Man's in a black suit, or he's fighting Venom, or you've got Harry as the Goblin in this new black outfit, and it's just kind of like, There
were definitely moments where I'm like, this is so animated, it looks terrible.
Yeah,
where they were
No,
fighting or
definitely
swinging.
there.
I'm like,
One of
sometimes
the-
it's amazing.
One of the other changes that the editor made is in two instances with the story with Harry, their fight in his apartment starts differently, and it's actually better. It starts with Peter actually lying on the couch where they laid Norman's body out in the first film, kind of taunting Harry. And then later they dropped the entire exposition of the butler saying, oh yeah, Spider-Man didn't really kill your dad. It was blah, 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 which was just like, again, why are we saving this information for 2 years? It really just became, Harry was obviously struggling with a decision. He walked by a photo in a cracked frame of the three friends, looked at it, and obviously is like, you know what? At the very least, I have to go do this for MJ. And that at least makes more sense for his arc. But again, his arc started off stupidly with the whole, amnesia bullshit.
Yeah.
But he in the movie he took the Green Goblin serum,
Yes.
which drove him crazy as well. So theoretically, seeing a picture or whatever should not have fixed that. He should still be a crazy maniac,
Of course.
just like his dad was. Which
But,
is why
if he's taking the serum, maybe he's also, tweaking it since, he's now, a scientist like everybody else.
I love how we're trying to apply logic.
The one
Great.
thing that I wish we, it was sorry to see Raimi kind of, depending on who you're talking to or reading interviews with, either get pushed out or walk away completely, because the first two movies are really good, and the third film is not so horrible that it should derail what Raimi had been building. It would have been interesting to see.
You mean like Godfather Part 3?
Is there going to be Spider-Man 4?
No, there is no Spider-Man 4. There never will be a
Was there-
Spider-Man 4.
Was there
There's
going to be?
There
Was it
was,
going
yes.
to? Sam
Yeah.
Raimi was,
There was. They had actually, from what I've read, they were about a month away from actually starting shooting. There was a script that was written. They were in
Did it have
negotiation.
every villain ever?
No, no.
six
Uh,
villains.
There was Harry's dead, so he's gone. The villain this time would have been the Vulture. They were negotiating with John Malkovich, from what I understand. Um, um, Anne Hathaway, I believe, was negotiating for the role of Black Cat, who would have been a new love interest for Peter to play, which would have been interesting. They probably would have brought back Dr. Connors, who eventually becomes the Lizard anyway. My guess is it probably wouldn't have happened in the fourth film. It might have happened in a further film down the
Who was
road.
Dr. Connors in this one?
His
Somebody?
the one-armed professor. That's
Was it an actor we know?
I can't,
Yeah,
Dylan Baker. You've seen him in a lot of
Oh,
things.
yeah.
Did you watch The Hunters with Al Pacino?
But I know Dylan Baker, sure.
Okay, he's very good in that.
He's in 2 and 3. He appeared in both those movies. So and obviously there's the joke that Raimi and Campbell were setting up Bruce Campbell's character to kind of be Mysterio. So there was a lot of material they could have played with
Right.
for
And they
subsequent
could have
films.
all been in the next movie, but
Well, I don't think Raimi wouldn't have done that. I think he would have kept them, to a bare minimum and gone back to, the one villain, because the only one that I've heard mentioned for 4 is the Vulture. So,
yeah, but now they're all gonna be in the new movie in December.
well, yeah, but the new movies, if the new movie's MCU based, so
Right.
it's already going to be better. And secondly, it's probably going to be like 8 hours long with all these characters.
For reals.
But,
for reals.
Speaking of the new movie, another thing I noticed watching this movie and the trailer again for the new movie is the scenes of Jameson in Spider-Man 3 where he's outside and he bribes the kid for the camera. He's dressed the same way in a shot in the trailer for the new movie with the hat and the black hat and the black trench coat. So I'm kind of wondering if that's just a callback or is it going to mean something or
Interesting.
That was
So
Sam
could we
Raimi's
go
daughter, by
back
the way.
Wait, let's
Mark,
go.
thank you, because I thought this has to be the kid of somebody.
Yeah.
It looks
She
just
was
like
terrible.
she
Could-
looks
could we
just
go
like him.
back to that for a second? This bitch is taking pictures, sells him the camera, and then there's no film.
And then
What
there's
the
no
hell was
film.
she doing taking
Yeah.
pictures with no film?
Stupid,
Stupid.
stupid.
All right, so are we all done now?
But,
I
one
did-
little thing, I just want to give it up to I'm glad you mentioned him because J.K. Simmons, I know, I guess it was
Okay.
Raimi, but it was so minor, but just how he doesn't have to yell. He just, when Ted Raimi comes in, just shut up, get out. I love that scene. That's
Yeah.
it.
I felt the same
And-
way.
I
I
want to
love-
know
I was like, shut
What
up,
the-
get
what-
out.
what the hell was under the desk that they put on the for the buzzer. So that it was like an earthquake for him to take his pills as opposed
Loved
to
it.
like
I was just gonna say, I loved when he
Very cute.
jumped and all the pills went flying.
And
That-
wasn't the secretary, isn't that Parker Posey or somebody famous?
it's
Elizabeth
Elizabeth
Banks.
Someone, who?
Elizabeth Banks.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like
Oh.
Parker Posey or
She
something.
got famous after the first movie, but still continued to come on for the bit part because she's a professional.
And Showgirls had nothing after that, so she didn't care.
Yeah.
All right, so are we done, Joel?
I'm done.
All right.
I don't need to talk
One
about
other thing I just forgot to say is I loved when he called Harry Gobby.
it.
Just
I'm
really
not-
cute.
Yeah, there were
And-
cutenesses for sure.
In the comics, just so you're aware, the Green Goblin is not the only goblin, and Norman isn't the only Green Goblin. There's a lot of fucking goblins in the comics.
Hobgoblin.
Hobgoblin,
Hobgoblin.
Demo Goblin. The Green Goblin was Norman, and it was somebody else, and then it was Harry, and the Hobgoblin was a character named Ned Leeds. who
Okay,
may-
I thought you were joking about the Hobgoblin.
Well,
I didn't know it was a real thing.
well,
right,
so the character Ned that's in the new movies with Tom Holland, Jacob Batalon's
Right.
character.
He's very cute.
Yes. So rumor is that he's based off of the Ned Leeds character from the comic books a little bit.
Who
So you have to
turns
wonder
into-
at some point, is he going to turn into a hobgoblin? So
Oh, he's a Hobgoblin.
yeah.
Well, that'd be nice for him.
Yeah. The fourth
All right, so here we are. We're done now. What was I saying? Okay, so we're done with this trilogy, and Next week, we're gonna review the Eternals, which my short review was take the S off, because it was Eternal. And then we'll go back to the other two Spider-Man movies, and even we're gonna do the amazing multiverse. What is it called?
Into the-
Spider-Man Into the Multiverse,
Into
the animated.
In the Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse,
Into
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Spider-Verse.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
we're
the animated one, right?
Yes, which was really great.
Loved it.
the
All right,
two-part
and that-
Andrew Garfield trilogy.
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
We're doing the two-part Andrew Garfield trilogy first. It never had a finished, it never had a third part.
Everybody was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. I'm Frank Gaffney. We'll MC you next week.
And also with you.
That doesn't even make any sense.